We've got a lot to talk about.
On January 7th, 2025, the Eaton Canyon Fire scorched Altadena, torching everything in its path. Homes, wealth, and legacy burned in one night. But will Altadena rise from the ashes? I'm James Farr. On the Conversation Live Altadena Rising, we're chronicling the recovery, the resilience, and justice for the nation. This is the show of record, unapologetically progressive. We're not blacking down. So join me, James Farr, on the Conversation Live Altadena Rising every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific with the rebroadcast on Sunday at noon.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Take 2, 1, 8.
On KBLA, James Farr's on the mic, lifting up the people, keeping hope in sight. With Altadena spirit, he fights the good fight, speaking truth to power, shining the light. Flames try to break us, but we're standing tall. Lost our homes, but we ain't lost at all. Through the smoke and the ashes, we see the sun. Altadena's fight has just begun.
Just begun.
We'll rise again. We'll build it strong. Through the struggle, yes, we belong. Hand in hand, through dust and pain, Altadena's heart remains.
Live from Leimert Park, KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to the Conversation Live, Altadena Rising, and I'm your host, James Farr. This is the show of record, and we are chronicling for the nation the devastating January Altadena Eaton Canyon fire. Before we get started this morning, I want to invite you to follow us on social media at KBLA Talk 1580. You can follow me at James Farr Live. I'm so appreciative to you this morning for allowing me into your space. Some of you may be in your cars this morning, in the kitchen, in the backyard, possibly in the garage. I thank you for sharing this space with me. Let me tell you what we're going to do today. We have a full program, and as we are just now into 6 months since the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire, wanted to catch up with community elder Martin Gordon, who's no stranger to the Conversation Live Altadena Rising. We first heard from him in our live broadcast on First Things First with Dominique DePrima in the days following the fire on location in Pasadena. And then you heard from Martin in our 4-month, 90-day, 100-day, we'll clean that up in post, 100-day town hall meeting. And Martin brought some spirited commentary and some very lived experience on what exactly he's experiencing post fire, and as we are now coming up on 6 months. Not much has changed. People are still angry. People are still dealing with a loss. People still need relief. I want to read something to you. It's a reflection I wrote. You can find it over at the LA Progressive. A half a year later, the flames are gone, but so is the help. I didn't smell the smoke at first. I heard it. The silence of the panic. The police came through my East Pasadena neighborhood on their PA system, ordering me and my family to leave now. We left knowing the sirens. They were on their way to get the others. They didn't come for them. That's how the fire introduced itself. The Eden Canyon fire didn't care who you were. It didn't check your property records or zip codes. It didn't ask if you had insurance or a second home to fall back on. When tearing through Altadena that night, it consumed everything in its path. Brush, buildings, memories, lives. It was blind, but the aftermath has been a sight for sore eyes to see. What I've seen in the last 6 months since isn't two different disasters. It's a disaster experienced in many different ways. Same fire, same night, same fear. But the road back, that's where the divide begins to show. As a journalist, a neighbor, and someone who's lived feet on the ground and in the soil for years, I've witnessed something no lens can fully capture. I've interviewed over 100 survivors. I personally know over 200 families that have lost everything. Every day I'm reminded of the fire's deadly devastation when I look up and I see Southern California Edison power poles that sparked and wiped out nearly 80% of Altadena. And still, 6 months later, the smoke hasn't cleared. Folks sit jaws clenched, brooding over the injustice. Eyes red. Tear ducts are done. This isn't just about structures that burned, over 9,000 destroyed, over 25,000 people displaced, or the 18 lives lost in the flames. It's about the lives disintegrating since the deadly fire. Black folks already have shortened lives by systemic neglect, and for many black folks who already live a even shorter life due to generational stressors and domestic environmental terrorism, the trauma of this disaster is a multiplier. Survivors are long past the evacuation alerts and orders. They're past wondering if the fire department could have done more. But they're not quite ready to get past the lack of accountability. You can read the rest of that piece over in the LA Progressive. When we come forward, I'm going to welcome Martin Gordon into the seat. I want to check in with him. Martin has a guest editorial that you're hearing on KBLA Talk 1580. I want to get more into what triggered him to write that response. Only on KBLA Talk 1580, your ancestors' favorite radio station.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley show conversation with James Farr. At one point, James said something that caught me off guard. Not because it wasn't true, but because it is. Black Altadena is gone. I know it may seem stupid and non-productive, but I stopped in that moment listening to Tavis and James. I broke down and cried. In the back of my mind, I told myself we can bring it back like it was. But James Farr's reality check hit me like a ton of bricks. My community is being murdered. I said murdered, not by the Altadena Eden Canyon fire, but by the people we elect to protect us. and by greedy and gatekeeping nonprofits who cannot see the forest for the trees. For the first time since the fire, I truly feel and understand my wife's inconsolable pain. Because I'm struggling to find a path to recovery and at least some form of normalcy. My community is crumbling right in front of my face. Lack of funding to rebuild is slowly destroying us. Many of us can no longer hold out, and developers are gobbling up our property. When I hear voices like Tavis Smiley and James Farr speak truth to power on KBLA Talk 1580, it reminds me that we're not crazy, just unheard. Make no mistake here, KBLA delegation, this is war, and we the people of Black Altadena are losing. It's like waiting for reparation. Not gonna happen, brother. In this new orange man world, no one, no entity is persuaded by right or wrong. There is no consequence for doing the wrong thing and no accolades or support for doing the right thing. Will war-torn Black Altadena survive? Your guess is as good as mine. But what have I got to lose? I'm in my 70s and don't have time to wait. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once suggested that riots break out when people have no hope. But there's nothing left to burn down in Altadena. I wish I could say I remain hopeful that my beloved community will rise again like a phoenix from the ashes. I wish I could. With a KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Pasadena Community Coalition at gmail.com. Reach out to me. As always, we welcome your feedback.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth.
Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
From Watts to Brownsville, we find
And welcome forward.
misery.
You listen to KBLA Talk 1580, Conversation Live, Altadena Rising, and we are sponsored in part by Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. Welcoming in Martin Gordon, who is the chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition, Black Panther, lifelong resident, well, certainly most of his adult life. Resident in the Altadena community. Martin's entire block, his entire neighborhood, much like the over 25,000 people that have been displaced, Martin has been displaced. Martin has been in a very transient space in the last 6 months since the fire. But Martin has also been very vocal since the fire. Welcome, Martin Gordon. How you doing, brother?
Oh, well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me, James. I'm doing okay, but I'm worried about our community, as you can well see. I'm worried about my family, my wife in particular, and my son, and what's going to happen to Black Altadena. The reason why this is of urgency to me, and this is not really what I thought I was going to talk about, is that I moved to Altadena because Black people live there. So now, for almost 30 years, I'm like, we got a piece of the pie. I remember one day you say it's like the Wakanda, right? I got a piece of the black pie here. You know, we own property, et cetera, and whatnot. But now that goal, that idea, that comfortable feeling of Black people being around me is gone. And unfortunately, you slapped me with it in the face in one of your commentaries recently.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that. We heard a clip earlier in the program of Tavis Smiley and I. I was on the Tavis Smiley show exactly on the day. It was July 7th, which made exactly 180 days, 6 months, half a year. I don't think it really matters kind of how we quantify that window of time, right? Tavis asked me earlier in the program kind of what has it been like, and just personally for me, my response was it seemed like a perpetual 24-hour cycle. Like the days are kind of just all pressed together, but that's my experience, right? I'm in a different experience than you and many others. But Tavis asked me straight up about the future of Altadena, juxtaposed to the past of Altadena, right? Was kind of my words, not his, but that's kind of what he was framing at and what he was getting at. And I had avoided that question, Martin, for quite some time from a bunch of people, right? Both in media and just people that are curious, right? My quick response was, it's gone. That landed with you. What landed about that? Because I know you wrote you had recorded a guest editorial, but why? Well, tell me how that landed. I'm sorry.
Let me just tell you, is that it caught me by surprise. What you said caught me by surprise, and I'll tell you why. Is because in my mind, over these past 6 months, I have had a great deal of hope because I see the resiliency of Altadenas, black Altadenas, my neighbors. We feel confident in each other. We're supporting each other, et cetera. And I said, we even have some people who have put up RVs. We meet in our community regularly. I'm talking about in the actual community. Mm-hmm. The other day I was up by my house and somebody with their RV. We got together, set out and talk, and just like we would, on any other day. But when you said Altadena is gone, I realized for the first time that was true. That I would never have that Altadena I'd had for 30 years. And that many of the black people around me were not going to come back because of what has happened in terms of help and hope for these people in our community.
Well, I want to talk about the help, right? I want to get later in this conversation to the hope, right, and kind of what is sustaining you with hope, right? But I think it's important now for the delegation, for, the audience that's listening locally as well as across the country, and even folks internationally that are listening to this program. We heard as we were coming forward into the break, Marvin Gaye, Inner City Blues, makes me want to holler. Right. Throw up both my hands, right? But Martin has this one refrain in the song where he's like, this ain't living. This ain't living. How are you living?
You know what? I think people don't really understand the magnitude of the pressure it is to live day to day as a homeless person. Basically,
unpack that for me.
Let me explain something to you.
First of all, you consider yourself homeless.
Oh, I am homeless. I don't consider myself homeless. I'm homeless. I don't even know if you know this, but I've worked a lot in the community, and one of the places I worked at is at people assisting the homeless. So I know what it's like to be homeless, to take somebody from off the street, get them a job. That was my job. Get them in a shelter and get them ready for permanent housing. Mm-hmm. Now, as we go out in the community and people say, well, let me give you 1,000 pairs of shoes and let me give you 1,000 shirts and blah, blah, I go, what? That time is gone. I am basically homeless. And when you go to these places, they treat you like you're homeless. And see, I know...
Who treats you like you when you go to what?
Oh, so when you go to an event and you go and, there's some nice people there, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But people are basically like, go to that table, get a shirt, go to, and as if you're not a human being. You're just part of a cog in the wheel for them to get through and give you something and make themselves feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not everybody, but a lot of people. And so I began to speak to different people about this dynamic. And people start saying, well, you know, basically, you know, you don't have no home, you don't have anything, so what do you expect of us? I said, well, I expected a little humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I expected people to come forward and say, not just about the clothes, to start to talk to me about how are we going to rebuild, not with clothes, but with having a place to live again. And I'm not talking about a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
But most people said, well, as long as you've got a hotel or you're going from couch to couch or you're living with relatives, you know, shut up. You should be happy. And you can wait just like anybody else. Well, that's homeless, brother. That's we consider when you do the homeless count, people moving from shelter to shelter, from place to place, we consider them homeless. So our homeless population in Altadena went up by however many thousands you want to talk about it.
Wow. Just to bring the audience forward, Martin, like many others on that night, January 7th, and in his case, overnight, which takes you into January 8th, Martin was awakened by his wife, who was watching ring camera footage of the fire. I'll let you finish that part of it.
Well, she called me, and she said, Martin, what are you doing? You know, are you keeping track of the fire? I said, yeah, I'm keeping track of the fire like we always do. It's never going to get here, so I'm not worried about it. She said, well, I'm looking at the ring, honey, and I want to let you know that it looks like the fire is pretty close. I said, oh, okay. I got up. She said, you know, have you got all your things ready that we can take out really quickly, and you got the dogs ready? I said, oh, yeah. So I walked to the front door. I looked out the window. I started seeing the fire coming. I started seeing a few embers, but I thought, not a big deal. I opened the door, and as I looked across, it looked like the fire was probably maybe 3 football fields from me. Mm-hmm. And as I was talking to my wife, I said, whoa, I said, I think it's coming pretty fast, honey. She said, well, your son is on the way up to help you get out of the house. And she said, what you need to do is get going. At that point, the lights went out in my house. The phone went off. I'm not sure if what exactly happened. And all of a sudden I went, oh no, I'm outside now and I have to go back in the house. Fortunately, I had a flashlight near the door. It started to, get things going and get out. If my wife hadn't called me, the bottom line is, I always call her my best half, not my better half. As if my best half.
I agree.
Everybody knows that, James.
I thought I was smart when I told somebody that. They said no.
No. She, it was really her call that allowed me not to die, brother. Because if she hadn't called me, I probably would have fell asleep, smoke inhalation, and the fire would have taken me.
Wow. I mean, every time I hear the story, and I apologize that we had to bring that back up again, right, to talk about it.
I feel good about it, James.
Okay.
I feel good about it. I don't mind telling the story. I feel good about it because I'm alive. Mm-hmm. Although we have some trials and tribulations still in front of us, I'm alive.
Well, when we come forward, I want to, continue the conversation with you. And I'm really still trying to understand how you living. Right? Don't answer that right now. Okay. But I want, but I want to understand how you living. Right? I'm going to ask you a question now that I want you to sit with for just a second, because if I ask you to answer it now, we're not going to have enough time, and you're going to go off. So I want you to save that part of it, right? Okay. But I want to know how you're living, and I want to know, has the money raised reached you? Right, we'll pick that up on the other side when we come forward. Stay with us. News is up next. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, Conversation Live, Altadena Rising, and we are sponsored in part by Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power. We knew you you stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Be heard. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
Brothers and sisters, the Black Panther Party very proudly presents your legacy will never be forgotten. We will remember your legacy will never be forgotten. Let the story now be told.
And welcome forward. Yep, Conversation Live, Altadena Rising. I'm your host, James Farr. We are sponsored in part by Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. Continuing this conversation with Martin Gordon, who is the chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition, and Martin and I have kind of been discussing and reflecting 6 months since the January Altadena Eaton Canyon fire, which, you know, it gutted our community. I mean, it's 80% of the homes are gone. Tens of thousands of all folks are gone, but mostly black folks have been displaced. 18 souls were lost. And somewhere after that, what some are estimating $1 billion has been raised. I want to ask Martin just how much of that estimated money he's received. But first, I just want to check in with him. You know, you in your guest editorial that you penned and voiced here on KBLA Talk 1580, you said you were just now realizing your wife's inconsolable pain because you're struggling.
Yeah. I think, James, because of who I am and what I'm about and where I come from, people don't really feel like that Martin's not hurting because he's always there. He's not only there for himself, but he's there for me, for his community, for his immediate community, and he never stops. But I do stop. The problem being is that not just for myself, but for my community, how am I living? Every day I spend sometimes upwards of 12 to 15 hours a day working on how am I going to bring myself and my family back? How am I going to bring my black community back? And this is 6 months down the road. I still do that. Now, do I take some days off and blah, blah? Yes, I do. But most people will see, and as you know yourself, James, you will get a text from me at 3 a.m. with a diatribe of information saying, we got to do this now, Mr. Farr. I say, what is that guy doing? You know, does he sleep? No, I don't. I sleep 3 hours a day. Do I have problems sleeping sometimes? Yes. Do I have nightmares sometimes? Yes. You know, I mean, yes, I think about, do I think about death now? Yes, because I almost died. Does my son wake up in the middle of the night screaming because he dreamed that his father died? You know, how do I deal with that? You know, I can console him some.
And that's heavy right there, because I think people may hear you say your son wakes up screaming and perhaps think a toddler.
No, he's a grown man.
He's a grown man.
He's a grown man.
He's a grown man.
He's a grown man. I mean, he tells me what to do.
Yes.
Hey, come on, Papa. You know, get on the stick. And so this is serious. This is a serious issue, and people don't understand the mental health aspects of this. And it's very helpful to have people around you and surrounding you, like you, James, who have been very supportive in your family. But people are not clear that this is a stressful situation 24 hours a day. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, we were sitting and talking, And he said, we were talking about the fire. He said, the fire, 6 months and blah, blah, blah. And he said, boy, I can't imagine, Martin, this. I said, well, think about it for a minute. Look at your house. I said, look at it. I said, don't you love your house? Yeah, I've been here I said, think about tomorrow morning when you wake up, you turn around to your wife, your dog, and everything is gone, and you have no idea what you're going to do next. What would you do? He said, Martin, I have no idea, and I sympathize with you, but I can never even imagine that happening.
I want to, man, that's, again, maybe I was naive, or chose to believe a fantasy, right? I didn't quite understand that we would really be at this point at 6 months, 180 days, right? Because that's that energy, right? That spirit of Altadenians, right? That the roots, the resilience, the recovery, the rebuilding, and ultimately the reunion, like what we've been capturing, not documenting here. So maybe perhaps I wanted to believe. I wanted to believe that people would be in their houses right now, right? But right now, folks are in motorhomes. Some are considering ADU. Where are you in that process of you spend 12 to 14 hours of your day trying to assemble the last 70-something years of your life?
Right.
Where are you at right now? Have you gotten your permits? Have you started building? Do you have your new keys?
Stop.
When do you move in? When is the barbecue? Because Labor Day is coming up, Martin Gordon. I'm ready for the cookout.
Well, if you would like to cook out on my lot, it's been clear, because that's about as far as we've got. If you want to cook out on my lot, which we may do in our community, because we are a strong, tight a community, and which is very diverse now too. It's not, my street is not entirely African American, but we have a lot of African Americans there. But we are about people. We're about Altadenas, and so my street is basically just a blank. A person on the corner is a contractor, a general contractor. He started to build his house because he's able to do that. Most people, few people had really good insurance, and they've started to get permits. And as you know, permits are hard to come by. And they're thinking about, well...
Wait a minute. The supervisor put forward, Supervisor Catherine Barger, Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors chair, sponsored a motion that would defer the permit fees. Not waive them. Didn't that help? Some people? 20 people. Because that's about 25 permits have been approved, right?
Okay, that's really nice, James, except for one thing. You'd think of 20, they're approved, they're deferred, whatever. I don't care about that. 20, that's just a permit. That's not saying that we've moved forward to building or anything. That's just a permit. You need a permit for all kinds of different things.
Right. You
need an occupancy permit. You need electrical permit. You need water. You need this. You need that. So you got a bunch of permits. Where is the money and where is the movement forward to build my damn house or my ADU or whatever? So the bottom line is there are lots of people, and black people, especially those that are older. I'm retired. I'm not going to go out and work again to try to make enough money to build back my house at $1.7 million. I couldn't afford it anymore. So what does that really mean, for me? Well, I don't have enough to build it back. It's going to cost me close to $800,000, maybe over $1 million to build my house back. Insurance is not even a third of that. So what am I supposed to do? And here's, this reminds me of something they used to say in England. I forget who said that. You hungry? You need some? Eat cake. Eat cake, Negro. Eat cake. And so that's how I feel. It's like, well, that this money won't help me build back. You tell me, you said billions of dollars has been raised.
That's a
billion. No, this is a fact.
Yeah, it's
a fact. I know that 70 or 80 million has been pushed around here around Pasadena, Altadena area where there's funding. And when I asked about that funding, they said, well, let me tell you something, Martin. It's only been 6 months, and so we're going to do an assessment. Assess what? Here's my assessment for you, James Farr.
Hold on, because
I'm getting ready to get set off.
No, I'm gonna let you off, right? I'm gonna let you go, but I need to be clear, right? Because you haven't received the resources you need 6 months later to get your life back on track for you and your family.
Oh no, and in fact, the more you ask, the more rejection you get. Is always hurry up and wait. For me, this reminds me of the 60s. You know, when people would say, oh, don't worry, freedom is on its way. But come on, wait. Hurry, wait, we're working hard. We're doing, and so I feel like I don't want to use the word I use in another editorial, but like, guess what? You know what?
No, you call them greedy.
Oh yeah,
gatekeeping nonprofits.
Yeah, and they're avaricious businessmen that are there to steal our community from us. To steal our community. Let me say something, because you say, have I received the money? No. But is there a reason behind that, James Farr? Yes. I'm going to tell you the reason. But and if they don't realize they're complicit, or they're actually getting paid to be complicit, let me say this. The longer you wait, so here's 6 months and I haven't started anything, and all of my people, black people in particular, especially the elderly, have not received money. Guess what happens? The longer you wait, as a 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, the longer you wait, the longer I go like, I can't wait any longer, so I'm going to sell my property. So you're complicit in moving the black community out because we were underinsured. And so as we have to wait 6, 7, 8 months, and you don't give us a dime to do an ADU so we can live there, or to build back our houses, then you let the avaricious businessman come in and the developers come in. We're scared now, and we sell our land for $500,000 when right now it's worth 8 or 9.
So what you're saying is the ones who are the custodians, right, the stewards, right? Isn't that very polite language? The folks who got the money,
right?
Okay. Instead of assisting with you moving back in, they're ferrying folks out by stalling, getting you the resources you need to move in. In effect, that's part of the system of gentrification.
Yeah. So they're complicit in development, and those coming in to take over our community. They're complicit in moving black people out. And so make no mistake, you got billions of dollars, you got hundreds of millions of dollars, and you can't give it to our community after 6 months. James, this is not rocket scientist. If I need $500,000 and you're afraid I'm going to spend it someplace else, obviously because I'm black, right? Oh, no, I can't give you $500,000. Then put that money in trust for me and tell me the only way I can draw it down is to say, here's what my general contractor costs. Here's what my surveyor costs. Here's what my construction costs. And you can pay it directly to them, because I don't want the money. And as you know, through my nonprofit, I don't like to take money. I want it to go directly to the people. Give it directly to my people. Let my people go back to their homes.
My guest is Martin Gordon, the chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Martin is a fire survivor as we reflect on what the last 6 months has been for him and his family. Martin, can you stay with us a little bit longer? Folks, I normally do updates in the next segment, but I really want to continue this conversation with Martin Gordon, because I think there's a lot more for us to unpack. We'll continue this on the other side. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to Conversation Live, Altadena Rising. I'm your host, James Farr, and we are sponsored in part by Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580. Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome forward. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to the conversation live, Altadena Rising, and I'm your host, James Farr, and we are sponsored in part by Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. You know, we've spent the better part of this hour this morning with Martin Gordon, the chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition, and Martin was just getting going, and I'm going to let him keep going. You know, this is the part of the show where I normally do some updates, so I'm going to squeeze one in, but I also wanted to make room for this conversation. I'm encouraging you folks to check out Engage California. They have a new platform where they're nonpartisan. This is part of the California State Office of Data and Innovation, and they are looking to hear feedback from impacted fire survivors, victims, so that they can help inform and influence government. Two questions I want to come to Martin Gordon with, because we didn't get to touch on it. The electeds, right?
James, I wish you hadn't said that.
Okay, then just one question.
Okay.
The electeds.
Okay. You can answer this question, and anybody here can themselves. I actually got an email saying, "Dear Martin, would you please sign on a petition for the governor to get $100 million, in a bill for you to build back your homes in Altadena?" Mm-hmm. I sent the email back, and I said, "Hell no. There's been $100 million out here, $100 billion out here, and some money that the governor has given to firefighters, which I think is great, but nothing has come to us yet from the governor's office and from the state of California for me to build back my house. So why would I sign a bill to give you $100 million more for you not to give to me?" Mm-hmm. That's what I think of elected officials. Now, we have some good, hard-working elected officials locally. I think Judy Chu has done as best as she can.
Congresswoman Judy Chu,
yeah.
U.S. Congressperson, yes. Uh-huh.
And I think Catherine has done the best she can under the circumstances. She's become under a lot of scrutiny.
Speaking about Supervisor Catherine Barger.
Supervisor, yes. I'm sorry, I just talked about my names. I got you. And I still have some issues with both of those entities too, but I feel like they're accessible most of the time. Listening, and they can only do so much. Mm-hmm. And so we have to rise up. But politically, I think that I would like to see Catherine Barger and Judy Chu, Congresswoman Judy Chu, go to these funders and say, what is the problem? We all know about bureaucracy because we work in the government. Mm-hmm. What are you doing as a nonprofit? I'm a 30-year nonprofit professional. Mm-hmm. I know how to get money and put it back out. I know how to raise money. And the fact that you can, in 6 months, you can get money to the people, in particular, those that really, these seniors that really need to build back and have no place else to go, then there's a problem here. So I should be reaching out to the ACLU and asking, let's sue some. Let's. I was vice president of the ACLU for the Pasadena Foothill chapter for many years,
which I'm a board member of currently. But go ahead. Yeah. Well, let me do this, Martin, because we're gonna press hard on this clock, and I really want to know this from you. We talked about hope earlier, right? And it's something that thematically we've asked around here at KBLA Talk 1580 various interviews and guests, but what are you doing to sustain your hope in my last 30, 45 seconds?
Okay, here's what I do to sustain my hope. I understand that I must stand strong for myself, for my community, till the day I die. I'm 70-something years old, and my hope is that I will live to see Altadena come back in some semblance of what it was. That's the only hope I have. I am really concerned that there is nobody out there really listening, only giving lip service to what they want to do to make themselves look good for their political careers or for whatever their dynamic is. I see a lot of poverty pimps out there that are not doing anything for us, and that is a problem for me. And there are some people who have actually, during our survival mode, reached out to us and gave us some of the things we need. What we need now, we need homes. We are homeless. Build back Black Altadena now. Build back Altadena now.
How can people reach you if they want to help?
You can reach me at Pasadena Community Coalition at gmail.com. I'm not sure I should be giving my phone number, but if that's appropriate, I can.
That's totally up to you.
Oh, and listen,
I tell you, leave a Gmail there. If folks, y'all inbox me if you want to help Martin Gordon and the Pasadena Community Coalition and the many thousands others that have been impacted by this fire. Reach out to me on the DMs. Martin, thank you so much for being with us again and being willing to share your story. I greatly appreciate it. When we come forward, folks, I got a message in the music, the Saturday Slap. Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580, your ancestors' favorite radio station. KBLA Talk 1580, you're listening to The Conversation Live, Altadena Rising. I'm your host, James Farr. We are sponsored in part by Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. Yeah, this show, it does go by fast, and I'm grateful for my guest today, Mr. Martin Gordon, who is the chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition, and we've been reflecting on 6 months since the January Altadena Eaton Canyon fire. I don't know if I could say fire so soon in this context. I've been struggling with people still sending out emojis and stuff, but Martin has a guest editorial airing right now on KBLA Talk 1580, and it's hot. He definitely brings it. Earlier we heard the Lumpkins, who were the soundtrack for the Black Panther Party, and Martin is a Panther, once a Panther, always a Panther, and I think it's some of those Panther teachings is grounding him through this. But I know he's tired, and I think this song rings true right now.
Rats, dirt, and kids who are hungry. There won't be no more. Won't be no more. There won't be no more. Won't be no more. 'Cause we've seen how to be free.
No more. It's the Lumpkins. Appreciate again you guys spending this time with us.
When the flames subside, who ensures that the stories endure? At KBLA Talk 1580, we're committed to preserving the voices that shape our community. We know people have short memories, and as long as this Black Talk radio station is on the air, we will not let Altadena be forgotten. We are honored to announce that the Altadena Historical Society will officially archive our recent town hall alongside every episode of Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr. This is the show of record, the definitive source for tracking Altadena's roots, resilience, recovery, and reunion. These stories will now live on for students, scholars, researchers, and journalists seeking truth and legacy in the months and years to come. Because history isn't just made, it's honored, it's recorded, and it's passed forward. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.